Hello, viewers. It's Sentai from Screen Reviews, bringing you a new podcast on my separate called The Secret Sentai Review. And like always, I'm going to speak very loudly, very clearly, and very slowly, in case you don't understand me. Also, I tried to do my best not to breach your heart during this audio podcast recording as well, not to cause any audio feedback as well. And also, if you're under 18, this audio podcast recording will contain to adult limits. Once again, if you're under 18, this audio podcast recording will contain to adult limits if you're under 18. Once again, now if you're over, like if you're under 18, blah blah, tongue tied today. Anyway, if you're under 18, this our podcast recording will have some adult language. If you're under 18, now if you're over 18, then it's good to watch this audio podcast recording. Now with this and everything else at the way, let's let's get into let's get into let's get into the latest episode of Gozyuger. So basically, the episode starts off with the Rangers coming back to the cafe, and turns out that Hal's landlady who owns the cafe, and Hal's landlady who owns the cafe was walking over to the cafe while they were all out, and basically blah blah blah. And basically they was watching Shoko, who had the red razor ring, went into this berserk red razor form that looks like one of those bike gangs. Now, never watched those Japanese movies with the female bike gang chick, that female bike gang chick with the jacket and with the jacket and pants and whatnot, sort of like that. It's still like Shoko's berserk red racer form. And she had this back, she had this, the back kind of looked like the racer sword from Car Ranger, but the side is the side sword that the Car Ranger use and whatnot in battle. Anyway, and she causing mad panic and whatnot. So basically, the Rangers were watching on TV, but Hal's landlady turned off the TV and started to clean off the dishes while her son sat at the bar, doing his homework. The landlady has a son, he's at the bar doing his homework, and basically all of a sudden, before. No, the Rangers are like, what the hell, what happened to Shoko, and why she's going nuts, why she's going nuts, and basically, and that's when the Tegasaur took control of Hal's landlady and explains somehow somehow the somehow the tech, that the car ranger Tegra was sorry, I'm a tongue tied today. Anyway, so basically, the Tegasaur took control of her house landlady and basically started to talk through her, and he told the Rangers that that the red somehow the red racial ring has gone berserk, and therefore your Shoko has lost control over herself, and there's a berserk into her into her into her berserker form. So basically, after the Tegazord explained that to the Rangers, the landlady was, the Tegazord, basically, was done talking through the landlady, and basically, the son was like, oh my God, that was cool, mom, and basically, and the Rangers now know the reason why. So basically, the Tegasaur also stated that this never happened before. So basically, this is the first time that a user of a Sentai ring went into a berserk form. So basically, Showa is the first user of a Sentai ring that went into a berserk form with their Sentai ring. So anyway, basically the Rangers. So before the Rangers went back out to try to stop Shoko to doing more damage, there was they wanted more information about how and Shoko's backstory. So basically, how is as a little boy, I was kind of stuck in I come from a wealthy family, a doctors and whatnot, wealthy family, it seemed like my destiny was always to become a doctor just like my dad until I found this book about the Tegazord, and basically it opened my eyes. It opened my eyes and basically wanted me to do more. So basically, like as a little boy, like he found this book. He found this book, about the Tegazord, and basically he like he started to start to have faith in himself, like I don't want to be a doctor like my dad. I want to do my own thing, and basically if I ever have a chance, if the Tegazord is real or not, I want to be a loyal servant of Tegazord and whatnot, if the if if he if the Tegazord is a real, if the Tegazord is real, but as soon as once. So basically, once Ryoga found out the truth about the Tegazord being real, he was to become a servant and whatnot. And ever since that day, he's been following the Tegazord. He's been a loyal follower of the Tegazord ever since. So basically, and basically the other way is like, wait a minute, you're rich. So basically, like Rio and Rio, and so Sylvia's like, wait a minute, you're rich, and basically, you couldn't, you could be honestly, you could be just buy this place. So basically, stating the obvious that you have money and all this. You're like, how about the Rangers. The other Rangers were like, Rio and so too was like, you're rich, with your rich contacts, you can help my PI business and whatnot. And basically, Rio was like, oh, you could do things from some of your rich friends who love my music as well. And basically, and we always thought we got no time for that. And basically, and basically headed to stop Shoko from doing any more damage to the city. Meanwhile, we see Mr. Shining Knife and Miss Sweetcakes, seem like they were recovering from their counter with from the Rangers that stole the Giga Man ring from them. So basically, they had the Giga Man ring. Something we stole it from them, and basically, and Miss Sweetcake seemed to have a crush on Kaon, aka Gargano, yeah, whatnot. Seemed to have a crush on Kaon, aka Gargano, also known as Hal's brother, and basically Mr. Shining Ash was not happy that Miss Sweetcake has this crush on Kaon slash Gargano, and basically Gargano was trying to comfort Miss Sweetcake and whatnot, to basically trying to manipulate Miss Sweetcake, but Mr. Shining Knife was not having any of that crap. And basically, Fire Cannon's like, oh, okay, this is much on during this little weird moment you guys are having right now. Let's get down to business and deal with the Let's deal with the Rangers and whatnot. So anyway, so basically, Ryoga showed up on the scene and basically where Sonko was causing a rampage at. The rest of the Rangers convinced that this is not a place for there's a lot of people around. So basically, they decided to lure Shoko away from people to that way they could fight while Sabine being hurt. So basically, Shoko was so focused on chasing after Yoga, the rest of the Rangers left the right to this quarry. In this quarry, a few people did got hurt. One person did got hurt. Well, sort of got hurt. Luring Shoko away from areas where civilians were. So basically, got to this rock quarry, this little oaken rock quarry area where no civilians around, and basically, before. before the other Rangers got the chance to transform, so basically Shoko used her Car Ranger powers to freeze Hal, Rio, Sansumi, and Kinjin in place. So basically, Kinjin, Hal, and Sansumi and Rio were frozen by the powers of Shoko's, carrying the powers, and basically the only way they can get unfolded is, if Ryoga, if Ryoga managed to defeat her. So basically, Ryoga was trying to talk to Shoko, and basically remember, talk, and they had a flashback back from when they was little and whatnot about her crying, about her crying after after she broke a plate, by accident and whatnot, and basically, we gave her, kill her by giving her a flower a flower hat and whatnot that he made from the outside garden and whatnot, and basically, and basically Ryoga, before the battle and during the battle, explained that the Tegazord gave me hope, it's like that gave me hope and faith in my own destiny. So basically, you know. Ever since I read the book about the Tegazord and and became and became a Can Ranger, I that that the Texas gave me hope and faith that I can do anything I want to do, and basically so basically I believe and also believe in myself as well. So basically, so basically his belief, so basically ever since he read the book and about the Texas and became a ranger and been following the Texas, he could that be able to gain faith in himself and belief that he could do anything he set his heart to. So basically, with that drive of faith in the Tegazord and belief in himself, gained to the Tegazord, he managed to defeat Shoko and basically force her to demorph and basically what really hurt her. So basically, using the power of the like no, so basically, Ryoga managed to defeat Shoko while really hurt her and force her to demorph while really hurt her. And that's when that's when Fire Cano got, and that's when Kaon, Fire Cano, Mr. Shiny Knight, and Miss Sweet Cake showed up and started to fight the Rangers, and basically, Kaon transformed into Gargoyle and summoned the Hurricane Ranger, Red Ranger, summoned a clone of the Hurricane Red Ranger, and a clone of the Liveman Red Ranger. Basically, he used the power of the Liveman. He used the power of the Hurricaneger ring and the Liveman Sentai ring to summon copies of those Red Rangers from the Liveman Sentai and from the Hurricaneger, Sentai ring. And basically, the Rangers started to, the Rangers were now free from the power of the from the power of the Car Ranger ring, and they morphed up and started to fight against the bad guys and whatnot. And basically, basically as usual, so basically, the Rangers started to got the upper hand against them, and basically, and that's when Kaon decided to, hey, like, hey, look like, I'm gonna leave this up to you, and he decided to retreat when things got tough, and basically, Fire Cannon was like, wow, that's kind of messed up, and basically, he did the same thing. He did the same thing as Kaon did, and he started to retreat as well, but at least he helped out, at least he kept on fighting. At least he kept on fighting until Mister Shiny Knight and Miss Sweet Cake grow monster size, and basically, and basically, and that's when Yoga summoned the Tegazord. the second sword, Yellow Megazord, and basically started to fight against Mr. Shiny Knight and Mitch Sweetcake. And basically, Mr. Sweetcake even make them Mr. So Mr. Knife and and Miss Cake make themselves even go bigger, and basically, and that's when the Tegazord start to talk to Ryoga, and like Ryoga, Ryoga, I will fight with you. I will leave you my strength. I'll fight with you, and basically, they was able to they were, so with the help of the Tegazord, and Ryoga, and Ryoga's faith in the Tegazord and his belief in the Tegazord, and they was able to defeat Mr. Shiny Knife and Miss Sweetcake, but but most likely they were not destroyed from that powerful attack that Ryoga and the Megazord did to defeat Mr. Shiny Knight and Miss Sweetcake. So basically, most likely, Mr. Shiny Knight and Miss Sweetcake are still alive. Are still alive at this point. But just retreated back to their own world and whatnot. So anyway, Shoko was like, understand that that Ryoga wants to live his life the way he wants to, and basically like she gave up her Sentai ring. So basically she gave her Sentai ring to Ryoga, and basically like and basically like also I forgot that that Sun Tzu did use the Giga Man ring during the fight against Mr. Street Cake against Mr. Shiny Knight and Miss Street Cake and got Gordo and Volcano. So basically he used the Giga Man ring against the bad guys, in the fight against the bad guys and whatnot. So anyway, so Shoko gave so basically Shoko gave Ryoga the car injury, and basically Shoko was like will tell her tell his father, his parents, and his father uh, that your situation, and basically hoping that they'll understand and whatnot. So anyway, after Shoko left, we see we cut back to the cafe, and we see that that Ryoga was building a new shrine for the Tegazord. That he had this little shrine in the cafe for the Tegazord and whatnot. And the Ranger was like, this is kind of weird that don't get me wrong and whatnot, like his faith in the Tegazord is kind of creepy sometimes. His worship of the Tegazord is kind of creepy and whatnot. And basically, the Tegazord, as he appeared in the shrine, and basically it's like, hey, like he said, I do like the shrine. I like the new decoration of the shrine that you made for me and whatnot. Gave it giving Ryoga a compliment and calling him by his name, and basically Ryoga was so thrilled about that, and basically he started to freak out like a little fangirl and whatnot, and the rest of the Rangers like like the rest of the Rangers the rest of the Rangers are like I don't know, like they're understanding why the Texazord, gave him a confidence and showing up about the Shrine to try to give, mm, to give him a confidence about his work today and whatnot. But the way they're saying that it's gonna go over his head now and whatnot. And basically, this is how the episode ended with the Rangers just watching Ryoga freak out little fangirl after the Texas appeared in the shrine, and gave him a confidence about how the shrine looked, the new decorations of the shrine look and whatnot. And basically, that's how the episode ended on this note. So anyway, anyway, this episode was okay. We got some more details about Ryoga. So basically, most likely, the way most likely are hoping that we will get some more details about Leo, the pop star, aka goes to Leo. So basically, I'm hoping that we'll get an episode explaining his backstory a bit more in the series. But anyway, this was a good episode. Anyway, what do you guys think about this latest episode? Latest episode of Gozyuger? Good, bad, or just okay? Please let me know with the comments below. Anyway, signing off from Screen Reviews. 1,